This week on Hot Takedown, 538 Sports Podcast, we talk with ESPN's Mike Wilbon about his new piece for The Undefeated called Mission Impossible, Why Blacks Are Not Feeling the Sports Metrics Movement. Subscribe to Hot Takedown on iTunes or in the Listen tab of your ESPN app.
Get an amen from you. Shut your mouth, Paul. I ain't done yet.
I'll slap you around, Jack.
It don't matter what I do. There just ain't no pleasing you. Singing ain't no turning back.
This is the Paul Finebaum Show. Now, Paul Finebaum. You're listening to the best of the Paul Finebaum Show.
Joined by Ruthie Bolton, who, of course, will be featured Sunday on SEC Story. Ruthie, thank you so very much. Your story well known, your career at Auburn, your career winning gold medals, in the WNBA, and we were learning a lot in the build-up to this film that some of us didn't know. I know you revealed it not too long ago, but as you went through this process, what was it like to look back on your entire life?
It's been pretty amazing. I think that everything has a purpose, and I feel like to have gone through where I went through basketball-wise, the challenges had a purpose, and then the latter part of my life, what I had to go through also, with the domestic violence, sort of, define the purpose and to be able to empowerment. So it's all, right now, I'm hoping that through this documentary that the audience that watch it will leave empowered to be a better person or to learn something from my struggles.
Certainly, your career legendary. I mean, everyone knows all about that. But it came out not that long ago when you revealed what you've been through. First of all, what went into your thought process in terms of talking about this now?
I was asked to speak at an ESPN summit about a year and a half ago, and they brought it to my attention, like, would you like to talk about it? I'm like, why not? I'm like, I feel like, okay, it's the past. I'm healed. I feel like if it can help somebody, because it was going to be one of the topics they talk about. So I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't realize that how painful it would be until I got there, until how emotional it was, and I thought that I was healed from it, and actually I wasn't. Because I had never put closure to that part of my life, and it was very obvious, through my sharing it that it was tough, but it was okay. It was sort of it was healing in process. And I felt like the timing was perfect, and I felt like I needed to do it, and I felt like to be transparent, to be vulnerable, to help impact some young girl or some lady out there, I feel like it would be worth it.
So you had this great career, and then you get married. I want to go back to that particular moment, because when everyone's happy when they get married, you don't see too many frowns on wedding day. When did it all go bad?
It's just, I feel like, I don't know, we started out, sort of a happy couple somewhat, but I think, within the first 3 months of our marriage with the physical violence started within 3 months, and
what happened?
He was talking to me about, he was jealous. I was at officer school, and he was just, jealous about, I was around a lot of men there or whatever, and he just, I don't know, we were having a conversation, and we were sitting on the bed, and I was in Fort Eustis, Virginia, and we were sitting there, and he just, he mentioned, I can't remember exactly what he said, but then that was the first time he hit me, and I asked him, why do you do that? And he just said, you need to listen to me, more, because I think I was studying with one of the guys in the military.
At that point, what did you know, if anything, about domestic violence?
Nothing, zero. even I felt like, you know what, you married, you know, this is what you go through life, death. This is what they talk about. You have to endure it. You know, it's faith, you know, keep the faith. You know, trouble don't last always, that mentality. And I felt like, you know, this is just part of it.
Had you seen this before in your life?
I never seen it. And I know my sister, one of my sister had experienced it, but it was still foreign to me. And I still was like, when I married, I said, I'm not going to divorce no matter what happened. That was in my mindset. This is the man I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. This is who I'm going to have my kids with. And so that image, I could never let go. It's like, no matter how hard it got, the harder it got, the harder I wanted to fight.
You're 3 months into a marriage, and this happened. What happened next?
After that, I just, you know, he says, it's your fault. I said, yeah, it is. He said, look what you made me do. And I said, yeah, you know, I said, you know, I'm sorry. So in his mind, I'm thinking like,
so you apologize.
Yeah, this man loves, like, what can I do to keep him happy? I want to make sure I don't mess up again, because you know, he has to love me. This man, when I come home, he will bring me my favorite frozen grapes, you know, give me my favorite dessert. So he has to love me. I just got to figure out a way to keep him happy. So, you know, so it would probably maybe every 3 or 4 months was a physical episode, and I didn't understand either. And I felt like
how bad. I mean, listen, you're a world-class athlete. Did that play into it? Like I can handle this?
I didn't know. I never fought back. I just always try to protect myself, and I felt like, I just feel like you don't fight back. This is you probably made him do this. You made him upset because you know you go to movies and got to movies 5 minutes late, so you ruined the date. So you deserve to, and I felt like I deserved it. So I would, you know, so when it happened, I would just block my hand up, you know, block.
Did you talk to anyone?
No, it was. I'm like, it was embarrassing. I'm like, I caused this, so I must be at fault. So I'm like, I can fix it. It was that thing where, you know, he would always tell me, whatever goes on behind closed doors, it's our business. We got to work it out. And so I was like, okay, I believe that. So that's what I felt like I had to keep separate, and I didn't open up to pretty much anybody until.
So you kept working to make your marriage.
Oh yeah.
Better.
Yeah, I felt like the harder I fought, if I work hard, because that's why I had imitated that in my personal life, in my basketball career. When people said no, I turned into a yes. When I did
it would seem like there's some, you know, maybe a less educated person, someone with fewer accomplishments. I mean, you had it all.
That. Yeah, but still, and people will say, you know, why do you say, you know, common sense tell you, if somebody hit you, leave. It's so easier said than done. And that's one of the main reason I wanted to come out and talk about it, because, you know, my counselor told me there's generally 4 reasons why I wanted to stay. She generally have kids by him, have low self-esteem, don't have a career, and don't have a path for herself. He said, you had all those things, and I still feel handcuffed. I still felt like I need to stay because I can make this work. I don't want to get married again. I don't want to give up. And I was so conditioned to fighting and persevering in my career, my basketball career.
You're competitive.
Very competitive. It's like the more people say leave him, I'm like, how dare you tell me not to fight? How dare you tell me that I can't fight for something I believe in? And so I felt like it was insulting my.
At the worst of the domestic violence, how bad was it?
At the worst, it was, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was extremely afraid. Some things that Carol Ross reminded me that I forgot that even happened, that she picked me up side the road many times when I left home. I was afraid, I was fearful, I felt, in my home, I felt this small. I felt like I was not validated. And I guess that's why I played basketball so hard, because I felt like I had some teammates to rally me, to encourage me, to pick me up and say, you know, great shot, great rebound. So I felt like I had a team of people that believed in me.
Cathartic's an easy word to throw out there, but in terms of getting this all out, finally, and talking about it over and over again, did it do something for you?
It's still doing something for me. It's because even though it happened over a decade ago, I didn't start healing then because I didn't talk about it, and I didn't find closure to it. And I'm just starting the last year and a half, starting to heal and started finding closure and trying to, trying to move forward. And so it's still, every time I talk about it, it's still sort of, and that's why, everybody said, you're excited getting a documentary done. I said, it's still bittersweet. It's not just celebrating my basketball life. It's the
Maybe we should be talking about what you did on the court.
Yeah, and it's okay, but it's just a reality. And I think, and I'm thankful that now I can share it. So it's like, this is my mindset. I want to turn my pain into power, into purpose.
Finally, in talking about this and talking to people about this, I think we would all be interested in maybe a story, if you have one, of how have you affected someone coming up to you and say, hey, you made my...
So many times. Literally, it's been the last 6 months, a year, so many people that have read the ESPNW when I was about a year and a half when I spoke, saying thank you so much for giving me closure. And I'm like, wow, thank you so much for making me feel like I'm not alone. And to me, I was like, wow, thank you. I've told people documentaries coming out, when I tell them like what it's about, they was like, oh my goodness, I'm going through it right now. Oh my God, you actually went through it? And I'll share with them a little bit, and they just like, man, thank you so much. I feel like, I guess I don't feel so bad. Like, they feel like I've joined their hands and I just embracing them, like saying, I can walk you through this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ruthie Bolton.
Truckers. This is the best of the Paul Finebaum Show.
Let's check in with Archie in Mississippi.
What's up, big guy?
Hey there.
I can tell you, the phone call before the phone call is going to be better than the actual phone call, I can assure you. Here's what I want to know. Last Thursday, when y'all decided to use a whole bump in to use my 3-year-old son to taunt me on national television. Yeah, I said national television for you, John. Whose idea was that? Was that
hold on, Archie, let me bring in John. First of all, we weren't, I'm not familiar, I'm not even sure what you're talking about.
You're not familiar with the bump in that you did where you called me a terrible parent on national television?
Can someone help me with this?
Paul, I criticized Archie for using his son as collateral. That's the words that I chose. But we weren't on TV last Thursday.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the Thursday before the Thursday.
Okay.
Because who knew it was going to take all three of y'all so long to be in one building and produce a TV show? Yeah, I've been waiting.
Okay, so Archie, this was 2 weeks ago, let's say 10, 12 days ago, and you're upset about it?
Yeah, I'm upset about it, Paul, because, I mean, how would you feel if somebody...
Archie, you are the one who, if I remember correctly...
No,
said to your son, hey, during the middle of one of the worst calls in the history of the show, you brought your son into the conversation.
See, now you're just lying.
I didn't even know you had a son.
Happened. My son walked into the room while I was on the phone, and then you made a big deal about it because you were just looking.
Well, he was crying, Archie. He was crying right in the middle of a phone call. And my feeling is, if you can't manage your pets or your children while you're on the phone on a national show, then call some other time, okay? What I really don't understand is why you're wasting our time with this.
I'm not wasting
Frankly,
your time.
Archie, there's no one in America who cares but you.
Yeah, well, I do care, and I'll tell you what. Just so you two know, that you become so comfortable talking about my son and my parenting skills on national television.
With all due respect,
no,
I really don't care about your son, okay?
Just listen for a minute.
I hope he's healthy.
If you would.
Hope he grows up to be a great citizen. Beyond that, I'm not interested, okay?
Yeah, well, taking parenting advice from two dudes that don't have kids, it's a kind of funny.
I'm not trying to give you parenting advice. I'm trying to give you caller to the Finebaum Show advice.
Oh.
If you want to call the show, if you want to have a meaningful phone call, which you've never had,
hey, thanks for helping,
leave your
Paul.
son somewhere else. I mean, can't kids sleep while daddy is on the phone?
Yeah, that's what I call during nap time, sir. But, you know, sometimes when people say ridiculous things like, Ole Miss is going to lose 6 games, I call in on a non-nap
Who
day.
said that? Who said that, Archie?
John said that, Paul.
John,
Man, really,
John,
watch the
John,
show.
calling all
I know
John.
you're busy, right? But
John
watch the show back occasionally.
Hayes to aisle 1.
Yes,
I mean,
Paul, what can I do for
you
you?
send, like, somebody else to the production meeting? Like, I mean,
You know what
you
happens,
sit on the
Paul?
production meeting.
What happens is Archie calls the show, and he's just obsessed with seeing his name on our graphic, where he just doesn't even realize what he's going to talk about. And it's callers like Archie who have, you know, taken away. Some people have been critical, Paul. I think we can have this conversation about the callers on the show since we moved to television. And it's people like Archie who just want to see their names and say, Paul, last 10 days ago on national television, you made fun of my son. Well, Archie, I got to tell you something, brother. That was 10 days ago. Nobody cares except for you.
I'm aware. I know, because you feel very comfortable coming on national television and say things that aren't true. Yeah,
Hey,
I know you don't
Archie,
care. That's the whole point.
Archie,
Look, listen to me. Just stop talking and listen.
I don't want to listen to you, Archie. I want you to
this.
listen to me for a second, okay?
No.
John is
Listen up,
correct. We don't really care whether
Don't hit hit the button. There's my name right there on the screen. It's not a surprise to you who's calling in, right?
Archie, let me ask you a
hit
question.
the button, not
Archie,
me, sir.
slow down. Time out. Let me ask you a couple of
Let me
questions
ask you
here,
this.
okay?
Does it say
No, I don't
Archie
wanna hear from
Promotion
you anymore,
Springs on your
Archie.
screen,
Archie,
and then you
answer
hit the
me.
button?
Archie,
I don't hit the button. You do.
Answer me this question, okay?
Sure.
Why do you call the show?
Well, I originally called the show because you're woefully uninformed about Ole Miss football, and I was hoping to exchange opinions and information.
Okay.
And then Mr. Entertainment decided that I was going to be the evil Ole Miss caller, right? Even though that's not true at all.
Archie, can we talk for just a second?
No, look,
Archie,
just so you two, no, look,
I have
this is
one
the one
thing to
thing
say,
I wanted
okay?
to say.
I am going to say something, and you respond, okay?
Sure, go ahead.
You are a sniveling phone caller to the show. You never say anything interesting. You never say anything important. You're a pain, Archie. Now it's your turn.
Well, stop hitting the button then, Paul. But here's the one thing that I called to tell you two today. Because you become so comfortable talking about my son and my parenting skills, there's 100% chance that you're going to meet me in person, sir. 100% chance.
There's 100%.
You're going to be in Oxford. I'm going to be in Oxford. That way you can look me in the eye when you apologize.
Well, first of all, there's nothing really to apologize about, Archie. By the way, are you making a threat on us? Is that a threat? He hung up? Sounds like a threat to me. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Ray? I think he's threatening. I don't care. I mean, we have security around us, Archie. It's not like we're really concerned that you and Eli Jr. Will do us bodily harm, but that was a threat. So the next time we come to Oxford, which I hope will be soon, we'll make sure the authorities are aware that there'll be a sniveling guy from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and a little 3-year-old who have made a threat on us. So we just want to be prepared. Okay, now that we have all that cleared up.
Did you ever look at
You're listening to the best of the Paul Finebaum Show.
Baylor has essentially fired head coach Art Briles. To give you the official wording, Baylor announced earlier today that head football coach Art Briles has been suspended with intent to terminate, which to me is just legal jargon for we will fire him as soon as our attorneys say that everything's good to go. Baylor athletic director Ian McCaw has been sanctioned and placed on probation, and the Baylor president, Ken Starr, has been transitioned to the role of chancellor and will remain a professor at Baylor University Law School. I don't know what the difference is between president and chancellor, but if you've missed all this for the last month or so, these actions are in reaction to an investigation into a number of sexual assault cases and complaints against Baylor University football players over the last few years. And this report, the findings of this report by an independent law firm, revealed that there was all sorts of negligence on the part of both the university and the football program. And because of that, these actions are being taken. I'm going to read you a quote quickly from Richard Willis, who is the chair of the Baylor Board of Regents. He says, "We were horrified by the extent of these acts of sexual violence on our campus. This investigation revealed the university's mishandling of reports in what should have been a supportive, responsive, and caring environment for students. The depth to which these acts occurred shocked and outraged us. Our students and their families deserve more, and we have committed our full attention to improving our processes, establishing accountability, and ensuring appropriate actions are taken to support former, current, and future students." And then he went on to say, "We have made these decisions because above all, we must safeguard our students and our campus. We must set a new course to ensure the leaders of the universities place a premium on responding effectively and with sensitivity to those impacted by the tragedy of interpersonal violence." And in a conference call just a few minutes ago, Willis also mentioned that Baylor University has been contacted by the NCAA and will cooperate with any investigation that ensues from that. We are now joined by Mac Engel of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Mac, you came on the show for the first time right at a month ago, and you said in that interview that you thought there was a chance that Art Briles could lose his job over this. How surprised are you that it happened this quickly?
It's a good question. I'm not surprised because of given what happened, but I am surprised because we're almost in June, which means we're about 2 months out of the start of football season. The timing of this is incredibly hard for a college football program, but ultimately I'm not surprised because the bottom line is Art Briles' presence on the sideline for Baylor University was going to affect the bottom line of Baylor University, and you can't have that. Everything that Baylor outlined today was accurate. It wasn't like they were running from anything. It wasn't like they were trying to deny anything or minimize the significance of the considerable lack of oversight on the part of the adult leadership at Baylor. They took it. They're going to deal with it, and they had. It was the hardest, easiest decision. Hardest in the fact that Art Briles meant so much to that school. Easy in the fact that you could end it by eliminating that one guy. They did it, and as a result, they are ready to move on from this scandal.
Yeah, and there's a 13-page document titled "Finding of Facts" that came from the law firm that investigated this, and there's all sorts of stuff in there that we'll get into later in the show that it tells you everything you need to know about why Art Briles was let go. What do you make of the fact that Briles was fired, and yet the athletic director is suspended and the president is reassigned?
I don't really know. That one was kind of perplexing to me. Ken Starr being moved to a different position, he's certainly still a visible man because of his relationship with Bill Clinton and the Whitewater and Monica Lewinsky investigations in the 90s, so he'll always have that. And a lot of Baylor people loved him. And I say this with utmost sincerity, you'd love him. If you'd meet him and spend 5 minutes with him, he'd charm you to death. He's a hard guy to dislike. And there was wiggle room to try to minimize how much he knew about this scandal. It's a weird move in the sense that he's going to remain collecting a sizable check as its chancellor and it's the dean of a law school. The Ian McCaw thing is kind of bewildering in a sense. I'm like, but we all know in this particular case, the only way to really to look accountable is to fire the guy who was the head coach of the football team. That was the only thing they could do.
Yeah.
Satiating the masses and stuff like that, you can't win that. And you and I both know that. The people, this is about Baylor, and football fans are just going to want blood, and we all want blood and fire everybody. There's no way to win that one. But when it came to the accountability and the leadership of its football program, the only way to really make it look like they did the right thing was to fire Art Briles. And I want to say this is important. The only reason we know about any of this is because of Texas Monthly. Texas Monthly's original report that was back in August of 2015, that was the original domino. And I know a lot of people in Waco and the media have caught hell for this. Well, the Waco Tribune and other outlets, they did cover the Kevin Elliott case. Nobody did anything with it. Now, maybe they didn't go as in-depth as they should have, but they did cover it. They did report about some of the Sam Ukuwachu thing, or maybe they should have done more about it, but it was there. Enough that Texas Monthly found it. That was the first domino. And then it was ESPN's Outside the Lines. They did even more. Those are the outlets that really deserve a lot of credit for exposing what was something that was horrendous and should not have been occurring in the college athletic department. And ultimately, I will bet all of my money will be used by other athletic departments as the paradigm of what not to do.
Mac, what do you expect the implications of this to be financially on Baylor University? I mean, the comments that I just read that were made by Richard Willis, the chair of the Board of Regents, he's basically admitting fault on the part of the university and how they handled these situations. I would assume it's going to be very difficult for Baylor to not have to settle every single civil suit out of court at this point.
They will. They'll have to write checks. They already wrote one check. They already settled with the first victim of the Sam Ukuwachu case, and that's what they have to do. It's what Penn State had to do with Sandusky victims. You have to write checks, and they know that. The bigger issue is that the success of Baylor's football team had a very significant positive effect on the university, from applications to enrollment to donations. And that happens a lot. That's why universities invest heavily in college athletics. You saw it at TCU, Georgetown basketball. Pick the athletic department that's had success in men's basketball and football, and you will see spikes in donations and applications. Well, it works the other way, too. And now Baylor's going to have to deal with that fallout. There's a real good chance that this is going to negatively affect applications. That's what this is about. And if they felt that there was a way that they could have saved Art Briles, I think they would have done it. But I knew a month ago that this thing was on the table, and the reason is because we can't have this affect the business of Baylor University. Baylor's a business. Now, its product is education, but it's a business. And Art Briles standing on the sideline created the perception that Baylor was a football team, a run amok with skewed priorities, and that was going to be bad for moms and dads who wanted to potentially send their kids to school there. That's why he's gone.
Mac, the release by Baylor mentioned that additional members of the administration athletics program have also been dismissed or fired, if you want to use that word. Richard Willis declined to give the names of any of them. Have you heard anything about whether there might be any other members of the football staff that have been fired?
I would imagine eventually the whole football staff will go. This is going to be an expensive move. Anytime you change staffs, it's going to be pricey. The reason why Art Briles is suspended with the end game of termination is they've got to work out a settlement and a buyout with him on his contract. He made in excess of $4 million a year. So that whole staff's going to go. Maybe not today, but eventually they're going to go. The one I imagine is going to get, and I for a long time thought until about a month ago that the one who was going to take the fall was the President of Judicial Affairs, Bethany McCraw. And I don't know this, but I would imagine she's probably gone, and other members of her staff as well. This is going to be a really expensive move for Baylor University. And no one wins in this case. No one's celebrating. It's a black eye for Baylor. It's a black eye for Texas football, and it's bad for college football. This isn't a good day in the least. And no one wins here at all. And I know people want to make in Texas, you got Longhorns fans and TCU fans, oh, good, Baylor, ha, ha, you get it. No. Nobody wins here. The only thing that happened here today was a bunch of people lost their jobs because they were idiots in how they tried to handle this to protect the machine of Baylor football. Well, they did, but ultimately they paid the ultimate price.
Well said. Mac Engel, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Hey, thanks for your time, and thanks for all the time you've given us over the last month. And we don't know if the story's over yet, but if it's not, we'll be back in touch.
Guys, anytime. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
And then also earlier today on SportsCenter, we had Jane McManus, ESPN radio host and ESPNW columnist, had this to say about what kind of statement this makes in terms of what Baylor did today.
It's pretty clear that what they're saying is that football is not the most important thing to them when it comes to their university. I took a look at the mission statement for Baylor University, and it says the mission of Baylor University is to educate men and women for worldwide leadership and service by integrating academic excellence and Christian commitment within a caring community. And I think what they've done with this decision is saying that that mission statement is going to trump the football program if the football program is not in concert with the overall mission of the university.
And that was Jane McManus on SportsCenter. Huge story. Once again, Art Briles, one of the best coaches in college football who had led an unbelievable turnaround of the program at Baylor University, is going to be fired. And obviously there are repercussions on the field within college football, at Baylor, within the Big 12. But there's a huge off-the-field component to this as well.
Hey, everyone.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum Show.
We are delighted to welcome a very special guest, Vince Gilly. 50 years ago, when Coach Gilly won the first of his 6 SEC titles, and he joins us now. Coach, it just seems like yesterday, doesn't it?
Well, it sure goes by fast, that's for sure. That's for sure.
You were a mighty young man when you took over the Georgia job as a head coach.
Yeah, I was. That wasn't exactly my plan. My plan was to leave Auburn and go under either Del Royal at Texas or Frank Broyles at Arkansas, and then when Coach Jordan retired, they would call me back. But you never know what happens in this business, and it'll probably never happen again with somebody with my lack of credentials would be able to get a job as big as Georgia, but it was all about an athletic director by the name of Joe Leaves, who I played for in basketball and also coached with and scouted with many years.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember, about a couple of years later, Tennessee actually brought in Bill Battle, and he was, I'm not even sure he was 30 yet at the time, so you may have opened the door for more, although it hasn't happened very many times since.
Not many, but Doug Dickey also came in at Tennessee earlier, and he was a young guy. So Doug and I were about classmates, so it was kind of a little bit of a trend in that area, and that era. I think Steve Sloan also was young, so probably not happening anymore. Of course, they didn't pay those coaches very much in those days. They just they got an opportunity. My salary was about, the total package was about $15,000, but somebody said that's just about what you were worth at the time, and it probably was.
$15,000. I mean, again, it's hard to put in context, but that was probably a pretty fair salary back then, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know. If you computed it today, it'd be about $120,000.
Yeah.
So I wasn't. That
wasn't wouldn't work right now in the SEC, would it?
No. My two coordinators, Irk Russell and my brother Bill, they were the only ones with 5 figures. They were $10,000 apiece as coordinators, and everybody else was 4 figures down after that. But we were a very compatible group. It was a great staff. We got off to a great start. We had some hungry guys that had been around and had suffered pretty hard. Of the previous 9 seasons, there were 7 losing seasons at Georgia when I came to the university. So they were a hungry group, and we had a great staff, and we got off to a good start and gained some credibility, which I needed very badly to gain.
I mean, you're seeing Saban right now close to $8 million, which I think can be backed up pretty easily, but others maybe not. I mean, is there any thought on what? It's not so much even the head coaches; the coordinators are making a fortune now.
Oh, the coordinators. We had a game with LSU. I think the LSU coordinator was making about 1.6, and we were making 1. Our coordinator was making 1.4, and the game ended up, I think, 43-40. So I wondered after the game was over. I was thinking about the coordinators with that kind of a salary. They're in another classification in this day and time. And Kirby Smart has put together a very fine staff, but they are very well paid as contrasted to the first staff I had at Georgia.
Having been the athletic director and obviously the head football coach, you've watched a lot, and you hired Mark. What did you think about the decision to unload Mark Richt and to bring in Kirby Smart?
Well, I won't address the first decision because here's a guy that's won 10 football games. He didn't win any championships in more recent days and had some issues. But I will address the second one, and I've been asked that question, as you might imagine, by a lot of people. But I thought about it, and I think if I had been in the same situation as Greg McGarity, that's who I would have hired. Similar to Mark, in that Mark, as an assistant coach, was an integral part of the best program in the decade of the 90s in Florida State. And Kirby Smart has certainly been an integral part of the best program in this recent decade.
And you know Nick Saban very well. You spent a lot of time, or have over the years, at the Lake, and so you maybe can see him in a way that others can't. But we knew he would be successful, but in your wildest dreams, Coach, did you believe that he would be this successful?
No. Anybody that said they would. No, you've got to be good, and Nick is really good. He's intense, and I've watched him at LSU because our son Derek was with him there. Sure. I've watched him at Miami because Derek was there. Then I've been over and spoke at the Alabama Clinic the very first year that he became the head coach. But in addition to being good, and Nick is really good, you got to have a little luck. Things have got to kind of fall into place, and that's true in winning a championship or anything else. And Nick has had his share of it as well as being doggone a heck of a good coach, and probably the best coach, football coach today anywhere.
He was with us Friday, in typical Nick Saban fashion. I asked him about losing his line coach on top of Kirby, and I believe overall he's lost 4 coaches, and I used the word adversity, and he quickly corrected me. So this isn't an adversity, this is an opportunity. How difficult is it to replace 4 coaches, in particular, probably your most important, Kirby Smart?
Well, I've seen him do that at LSU. Usually a coach wouldn't be with Nick over 3 or 4 years, but he's got an incredible list of good coaches that he must have, and he goes right to them whenever one leaves. He goes right to the next one. And he always thought a lot of Pruitt, so I wasn't surprised that he hired Pruitt right away. But Nick does have, he has replaced coaches, absolutely amazing to me. I was very fortunate to have, like Irk Russell, he was with me 17 years. I had a staff that was pretty close. We would turn over people, but I would keep about 2/3 of my staff with me over a long period of time. But Nick has turned them over and has replaced them with just amazing efficiency.
Coach, finally, you certainly knew him well, and you had 1 or 2 epic games, one in particular in the Sugar Bowl. But there's so much that continues to be said today about Joe Paterno. What was your relationship with him?
I always had the greatest respect for he and his wife, Sue. In fact, we were together with Sue this past fall. In the winter. We went on a Nike trip out to Hawaii and had a chance to visit with her. But I just thought the world of Joe. I really do. I think he's just a classy guy and just amazing. That's what happened. It just astonishes me, and as well as it does everybody else. But the Joe Paterno that I know was first class in every respect.
So are you, and we always appreciate your time very, very much, and I hope we have many more conversations in the future. Coach, many thanks. Best wishes.
Thank you, Paul. Always enjoyed chatting with you.
Oh, you bet. Great to talk to Vince Dooley, the former coach at Georgia. Will be celebrating his 50th anniversary of his first SEC championship.
I'm Ian Fitzsimmons on the latest edition of Football Today injury reports for OTAs. And we'll check in with two teams that were in an NFL ditch last year that might make a playoff run. Subscribe now on the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
Hey, basketball fans, I'm George Sedano on the latest NBA Lockdown podcast. As Gutierrez and I get into how the Warriors are still alive and have they found a new formula. Subscribe to the podcast on the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
It's an ESPN Radio Memorial Day doubleheader.
Cubs have the lead again.
First in New York, the Mets face the Chicago White Sox at 12:30 Eastern, followed by the Cubs and Dodgers. Memorial Day on ESPN Radio.